Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Artist Talk live stream for Visage. I think everyone watching, you're in for a real treat. We have four incredibly talented artists who are going to talk about their stunning work of art in this exhibition. Again, it's called Visage and it's on at the Silk Purse Arts Center until August 20th. My name is Stephen Snyder. I am the Gallery and Communications Coordinator for the West Vancouver Community Arts Council, and we are so thrilled to be able to present this exhibition at the Silk Purse, which is on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Squamish Nation, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and the Musqueam Nation, and we're incredibly grateful to our host nations and neighbors for their stewardship of these lands since time immemorial. Everybody watching, if you have any questions or comments for our talented artists this evening, you can drop those in the chat and we will get to them throughout this conversation. So Visage is a dynamic and multidisciplinary exhibition featuring four incredible artists: Lucy Andersen, Marlise Eilers, Samantha Harrison, and SungEun Park. And all of their artwork uses elements of the human figure, the human form, the human body to tell all kinds of stories, whether it be personal, societal, environmental, political. And you're going to hear all about what these fantastic artists have to say about their artwork. So let's start by getting to know our talented artists. Let's start with Lucy. If you could introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Lucy, and in my non-art life, I'm a personal trainer, and I've done that for many years. And I've been painting or making art or also working in various creative fields most of my life as well. And really started painting more over the last 5 years. And over the last couple of years, I've been specifically using paper dolls as kind of a medium or a vehicle to express a number of different things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lucy. Marlise, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Marlise, and I've spent the majority of my life being creative, whether it's setting a table or I've dabbled in everything from pottery to jewelry making. And about 6 years ago, I took a weekend clinic, and it was on collage art, and it just hooked me. It took me, and since then, that's what I've been exploring. So yeah, I love where it's going and taking me. So that's my process at this point.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. I guess now alphabetically, we're on to Samantha. Could you please let us know a bit about you?
Hello, everyone. I'm SungEun Park. I'm originally from Seoul, Korea, and I have a Bachelor and Master of Fine Art from Hongik University. My education has been mainly focused on fiber art, printing, and interior design. And I've also had the opportunity to expand my studies at the École des Beaux-Arts at Fontainebleau in France. Over the last 20 years, I've been working with different materials, including yarn, paper, and felt to express my thought about human beings. Alongside developing my personal art, I also teach plastic and create 2D art for video games.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much, SungEun. And now, Samantha, could you please introduce yourself? Sorry, Samantha, we're not hearing anything from you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. Well, my husband will fix it. I don't know how it works. Yeah, so my name is Samantha Harrison. I graduated from Emily Carr in 2020. I've been painting for about 8 years, 7 or 8 years, since I was 20 years old. So I started in second or third year of university. I think technically third year. Yeah, so I do mostly oil painting and mostly portraits in a sort of realist or classical realist style. So not quite hyper realist, but sometimes getting there. So yeah, that's a lot of what you'll see. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. Nice a little bit of a peek into your creative minds. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more as this conversation goes on. It's great to hear everyone coming from all these different backgrounds and trying all these different things throughout their life to get to where you are now, which you can see a little bit of that behind me. So now we're actually going to see the whole exhibition. We're going to take a quick little tour so that you can get a bit of a sample of what it's like, but you will have to definitely come in to the Silk Purse to see it in person. It's you need to see it to believe it almost, right? To catch all of the details, all of the textures, all of the colors, all of the richness of everything that's going on. Okay, so this is kind of what you see as you come in off of our waterfront deck. Come into a piece here of Lucy's on the piano. This is actually going very fast. Here's some great collage work from Marlise. A little bit of a sample of one of SungEun's pieces. As you can tell already, it's a very eclectic group of work and very colorful and bright, but also monotone in some spaces and detailed and not detailed. It's a pretty dynamic exhibit. One of Samantha's great pieces. It's always nice to have 3D work in the space so people can kind of see everything in the round, especially the dolls, Lucy. It's because you kind of get to see behind the scenes almost, because you got to get to see the back of them and see how the clothes are draped on them. The clothes. And then some more fantastic pieces here by SungEun. Which again, a fantastic presentation as well, as just really interesting artwork. The way that SungEun had chosen to display everything, I think really is part of the piece itself. Another a great little cluster of some of Marlise, their fantastic collage work. This was maybe the largest piece in the show. It's great, it's bold. one of those exhibits where there's a little bit of something for everyone, maybe. Again, more of SungEun's fantastic fiber art. But Samantha's last two pieces, as you said, yes, neoclassical. I like that. That's definitely where you're leaning. And we also have two other great pieces here by Marlise that are just at our reception desk by our side entrance. You can come on in and see. So just a brief little tour, a little taste. You really have to come on in and then see everything in person to get the full effect of everything that's happening. So now each artist has chosen one of those great pieces that you just saw, and they're going to talk a little bit about it, to get some insights to what their inspiration was behind creating it, maybe a little bit of how they made it, and to give you a bit of a better idea of sort of the body of work that's on display here in the gallery. So let's just randomly choose someone. How about SungEun? Let's start with you. I'll pull up your piece here.
The theme of my collection is isolation. The grid patterns in my work represent the mental and social boundaries we often encounter in life. I've used the traditional Korean paper known as hanji to illustrate this concept. To create these pieces, I transformed the hanji into a barrier of porridge, then molded using plaster and silicone casting. Despite its initial flexibility when wet, hanji becomes incredibly sturdy once dried. This makes it a perfect medium for my work. Hanji's special characteristics allow me to create art that embodies the theme of isolation in a unique and visually engaging way. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for sharing those insights. I have to say, on a technical level, your manipulation of the paper of the hanji is pretty wonderful. It's not quite something that I think I've seen before. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've made the paper yourself, actually, correct?
Yes, I made it myself.
Yeah, that's stupendous, right? To make the
it feels more personal and easier to customize.
Yeah, I guess so. That would make sense. And speaking on themes of isolation and the barriers that we create for ourselves that you're sort of discussing in your artwork here, what sort of inspired you to go down that path and start working on those sort of themes?
Through the pandemic, through the isolation of pandemic, I have been fascinated by the way people build mental barriers as protection from their surroundings. So I try to express this interactions and highlight the importance of emotions in human connections. These themes, human emotions and relationships, are central to my work.
Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely an emotive quality to your work here on display. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Next, let's go with Marlise. Pull up one of your amazing pieces here. Awesome. Please tell us a bit about this work.
Okay, well, Age of Innocence. Every piece is different for me. Like some pieces I may start with this and like create the substrate, which I did in this one. Others I may choose images and then develop the substrate after I have my images chosen. This one here, I really got heavily into stenciling and mark making and putting a lot of paint on the canvas. And then it was kind of, because it was so pink, I thought it was very feminine, and I wanted to explore the femininity of it and putting in female figures, and it just kind of came together. So I chose images, and most of my work is totally nonsensical. So I just chose images that I felt would randomly fit in place and create the composition. So the Age of Innocence, the name comes primarily from the woman that's standing there with the little doll in her hands. So she's an older person, but wanting to still have that youthfulness about her, holding her little doll. So there's a lot going on in the picture. And anyway, that's how it sort of comes together for me. It kind of just happens, and things get put onto the canvas randomly, and then it just works out for me, I feel. So thank you.
Great to hear such an intuitive process, it sounds like, from you. Do you ever start with a plan, or everything just kind of comes out of you in the moment?
I do, like Temptations, for example. I had the images all cut out and everything was green, so I thought, I'm gonna create something around the green. So then I did the substrate and put the images in, and it kind of reminded me a little of the Garden of Eden. So I kind of went there with it, and the apple and the snake, but then I threw in some modern temptations like the drinks and whatnot. You know? So yeah, they all sort of start differently and end differently, and I think all artists always say, when is it done? And with collage especially, is when is it actually done? And so it's easy to overwork, and to know when to stop, I guess, is the key. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's exploration and color. As you can see, I love color.
Yes, yeah, very bright and colorful work. Yeah. So thanks so much for sharing. Next, how
Sorry, it's lagging quite a bit here.
Yeah, and for me.
You said one of us. Which one?
I think Steven's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Hello?
Now you're good.
Okay. Okay. How's this now?
Good. I'm guessing you picked me. Just
Yes.
I didn't hear
Sorry about that. It's a little spotty here in the gallery sometimes.
No worries. Yeah, so this painting is Vivian as Hades, god of the underworld, which is part of the title. So it's a painting of a friend of mine acting as the god of the underworld. And usually that god is a male god, obviously. But a lot of time in these paintings, I'm sort of switching it up, which I'll talk more about maybe later. But this one specifically, yeah, I've turned this male god into a girl friend of mine, and so it's trying to communicate sort of a way of looking at the god of the underworld, but from a sort of like how would they look if they appeared right now, but not in a way that's obvious. That's a very dumbed down version of what I'm trying to do. So it's not meant to be like if you look at it and you think, oh, this is the god of the underworld, but once you see the title and you look at it, then you're supposed to make the association. Yeah, so the way I've tried to do that in this one, I've had her sort of dress up in her kind of goth outfit, because she wears a lot of like goth Lolita clothing, and so I told her like, come decked out. So she came decked out, and I photographed her, and then I had her pose with the money. So it's supposed to be like she's, you know, maybe she's burning the money to take it with her to the underworld or like to the other side. Or maybe it's supposed to mean that you can't take it with you when you die, depends how you look at it. And I've also put the clock in there, so it's supposed to be like the clock is running out of time. It was actually really hard to get it to look like that because I had to tape over some numbers, and you can't get a clock to set to 0. But yeah, it's supposed to be like you're out of time. So it's basically the painting's about death in the underworld, kind of dark. But yeah, it's because I think Hades, you know, even though he's the god of the underworld, he's also the god of hidden wealth. So wealth that's found beneath the earth, so like jewels, that kind of stuff. So I was thinking about wealth and death, and you know, whether you can take it to the other side, whether you cannot. Yeah, I think, yeah, so that's what I was doing with this painting. This painting in general, just like the other ones in the show, they're all part of this sort of ongoing series I'm doing, which I called before. I called or had like titles where I've named it Recreations of Myth and Spirit. So they're supposed to be recreations, but also recreations of mythological or spiritual figures. So they're people, firstly, they're portraits of people who are trying to embody gods or goddesses of various backgrounds. And I make a bit of an effort to subvert the figures a little bit as well by changing the gender or sometimes the ethnicity of the figure, because I'm trying to sort of find a common point, I guess, between my friends and these gods. Yeah, so that's the gist of it.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I was going to ask why are you pairing certain people with certain figures? So it's something traits that you notice that are similar with these people you know and the stories that are being told, or is it something a little bit more abstract?
It depends on the painting, but a lot of the time it is a trait, or sometimes it can be something about their appearance or the way they dress, or something that they do as a hobby. In this case, I thought because she wears a lot of like goth clothes, she almost looks like a queen sometimes. So I was thinking like god or goddess of the underworld, and that's how I sort of got to that. But for other people, it could be like I have another painting. It's not in the show, a god of drunkenness. It's just because the guy likes to get drunk. So it can be very simple. Yeah.
That's great. And she does look like a queen. the great outfit. And what sort of got you on the path of this theme of getting to this series?
I think started in, I think it was an idea I had in a 3rd or 4th year. I did this class I took in school, and we had to do a project. I won't go into it, but basically I'd always been afraid of doing portraits, even though they were my favorite to do, because I was afraid of the political potential of portraits, because I think they're very heavy subjects. And the more sort of real you make them, the more criticism people have in saying that whatever you're painting has already been done, or that you're sort of making your work fall into this sort of European, styles or colonial history behind it. And, that sort of stuff would come up, and I get sort of spooked, and I wouldn't want to approach it. But then once I did this project in school and I actually did do it, I found that I was able to work with that and use it in the paintings themselves. And so I can't remember if I asked you. Did I answer your question?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And that means, Lucy, we're gonna have a look at one of your great pieces next. So please tell us about this fantastic character.
Okay, so this one, which I call Current, is it's basically I was kind of captivated by the sargassum seaweed that floats. It's through the ocean, and it's not attached to anything, and it kind of floats on the current. And so I just thought that seemed to be a great piece of clothing for this doll. And then she's dressed in eels, which breed. All the eels in Europe and North America, they all breed in the Sargasso Sea. And she's got the head of a mast booby, which I like the mast element too. It kind of has kind of a theatrical look to it, its face. So this is part of a group of dolls that I've been working on, and it's ongoing, that I think of as my floating world dolls. And they start off kind of with I guess concerns, environmental concerns about the ocean, concerns about the world, environment. But because I've been working with dolls for a while, I'm really curious about the idea of creative play. And just so they started like that, and there's a lot of floating stuff in that they're wearing, and they are, they're animals and they're different vegetation and stuff. But I kind of let go of a lot of just wanted to kind of focus on just letting go of intellectually of what I was doing, and I just try to kind of have fun and basically play. I'm really interested in how children are often working with the idea of transformation in their play, in toys and stuff like that. You become a horse when you're running through the woods. You're playing with your dolls, you're playing with your toys, you're turning them into things, they're speaking, they're and you're communicating with yourself and the world around you through how you play. And so these are some of the ideas behind what I'm doing. I originally started working with dolls because I wanted to kind of stop working 2D. I wanted to work 3D, and this was kind of an inexpensive way I could work in a really small space, because I was sick during COVID and I was really isolated and working in hospitals in tiny rooms. And so anyways, I started playing with dolls, and I also used to work with clothing, make clothing. I did a little bit of costume work in the film industry. And so I've always loved clothes. So it was kind of a bit escapist, but I kind of find it interesting when you're escaping and playing, like, whether it's reading sci-fi or fairy tales, what starts to come out. So I'm just not really sure what's coming out. So I just keep making them, and I'm not sure where they're taking me. And anyways, that's about all I can say.
Wow, that's great. Thanks so much. Yeah, that sort of contrast, maybe it's not contrast the right word, but that idea play and fun and whimsy that is definitely in your work, but it also, I've heard some of our visitors already have said, it's also provocative and a little distressing, right? Because there's beautiful human body, but then this like crazy crab claw, or this like octopus head on top of them, so that's a really interesting dichotomy in that you're kind of exploring in this fun playfulness, but there's something serious, there's something deeper going on as well.
Yeah, I kind of like the darkness. There's a lot of darkness in fairy tales that we grow up with, and stories, and yeah.
How often do you have to make dresses for them? Because I imagine working with the paper, you're maybe tearing a lot before you can get like the finished piece.
Well, actually, so when I'm working, the heads, the little pieces that are maybe heads or claws are pretty straightforward. I might sketch them out and get an idea and cut out that sketch, and then paste it on, just tape it on my doll and see what it looks like, and then paint it. The clothing, I get an idea and I sketch it out, like on a big piece of lightweight paper. And so I draw it out, and then I cut it out, and then I start to play with that, and then I cut it out, and then I start to attach pieces. And sometimes I'm folding things, and sometimes, so it's kind of like, it feels kind of like dressmaking, the actual clothing with some of them. And then I'm cutting and fitting. And so most of the tearing and, cutting too much and pasting on more and taping pieces just happens with this really lightweight, cheap paper. And then I take that and then I put it on, when I like the form and it seems to work, then I'll put it down on a piece of nice quality watercolor paper and paint it, and draw it on, trace it on, and then paint it in. But then there's a lot of freedom that you get from the cutting. So in some ways, the cutting is just really, really fun, because you can do a lot of, it's not just the painting. It's just kind of like, where does the cutting take you? So, yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much. There's a lot of, sounds like you're all exploring some really exciting ideas, and everyone's work seems to be somehow really very process oriented, right? Whether you're making paper and sculpting it and making molds, or you're designing these garments and cutting them out, or laying down pieces and mark making, or figuring out what props you're going to need, and perfectly positioning your subjects, and then there's all the minute painting that goes on. Is this something that you've kind of always done? I'm putting this question out to all of you. You can feel free to answer, everyone or whoever wants to. Has your art making always been so involved and so in depth? Anyone can jump in if they like.
I can sort of,
or not.
I can speak to that. Like, for many years, I was really caught up in really tight pencil sketching, and did a lot of portraiture and really refined drawing and painting, and it just, this process that I've taken on now is so freeing, because it just allows me to let go of all that tightness and just be so carefree and open as to what I can put on there. Yet it's a lot of work. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'll lay things on the canvas and take them off and try something different and rearrange. The composition can take a lot of time to put together. And then it's gluing it down. That's the tricky part. Getting everything exactly where you want it and not moving it around. Like, and it ends up in a different spot. I mean, yeah, you can glue over it, but that isn't what you had intended. So yeah, so there's that to the process as well. But I hear what you're asking about that intense process, right? The tightness.
Seems that these
Oh.
methods, yeah.
Yeah, I actually that's it's an interesting comment that you're making. I hadn't really thought about, and you're right. I think I get a lot of pleasure out of the physicality of working with something, especially 3D, but just the cutting, the painting. I mean, I've drawn most of my life and painted in some way or other. But I've also kind of explored printmaking. I really enjoyed the cutting with the tools and the physical pressing and movement. Working with clothing is kind of the same thing. I like the physicality of it. So that's an interesting observation.
An exhibit that I think inspires a lot of questions like that. Yeah, please, SungEun.
I've been working with different materials, yarn paper and felt. I've always enjoyed creating and manipulating my own materials. It's core part of fiber art, in my opinion. It is hard but very rewarding and enjoyable.
Yeah, I hope it's rewarding and enjoyable with the amount that of yourselves that you're putting out into these pieces. And kind of on the theme of, well, not necessarily a theme, but sort of the connector of the exhibit, because for anyone watching, how we put our exhibits together is we put out a sort of an open call for submissions, and a jury sort of finds connections to put our exhibits together, and they were really intrigued how all four of you, to various degrees, use elements of the human image in your artwork. And for some, it seems probably pretty obvious, like you're talking about emotional things or relationships that people have with themselves or the world. They're doing portraiture or something. But what is it about, not even just your work, but just art in general, about the human form, about a face, a hand, a body, that you think is so appealing to you or to artists in general to sort of capture and to use as a device?
I think for me, I've enjoyed fashion, and I like the models in fashion magazines, and it's just fun to take their images and manipulate them and make them into something different, or abstract them in some sort of way. But I love using body parts, and I've often thought it'd be fun to do a show of body parts, but like just putting hands in there, because hands can tell so much in a picture. The images, the different positions and usage of hands in an art piece, and then faces, they can tell so much, the expressions. And yeah, so I don't know, that's just what's captivated me, and that's why I gravitate towards them and put them in my art pieces.
Me, I like to paint people because I think people are like the ultimate subject. I think everyone can connect to another person. At least I would hope so. But also when I paint people, I kind of want to honor them. Like, elevate them beyond the everyday. So yeah, I think it speaks to a part of a person's soul. It's a bit cheesy, but to see another person that way, I think there's a lot of negativity around being a human being, but I don't know if that's the appropriate perspective. I think people do a lot better with hope and a little bit of grandeur, you know, so they can see themselves as having potential to do good things. So that's what it's about for me.
It's a wonderful sentiment. Yeah. I mean, who would want to see themselves as one of these great figures that you have on canvas, or imagine themselves in one of these chaotic scenes that look so fun that Marlise is creating? Or who wouldn't want to figure out what's happening with SungEun's pieces, with these bits of bodies, and feel that emotional impact? Or who isn't going to be curious as to what this person under the sea is doing in Lucy's work, and how they might be that person one day? I think you're all onto something there. And we're running close to the end of our conversation here. But I just wanted to remind everyone that if you're watching this anytime before August 20th, please come on down to the Silk Purse to check out Visage, to see the stunning work on display by these artists. And if you're watching this before August 4th, you can come on down to the gallery and meet everyone from 6 to 7. We're having reception. You can meet these 4 artists and chat with them about their work, and enjoy the beautiful beach next to us and have some light refreshments. And some of our artists are also going to be in the gallery in the coming days, making artwork, and be able to chat with them. You can find all that information and links to our artists' websites and social media in the description of this video. So please check that out and follow them, and stay up to date on everything going on with this exhibition. To our talented artists, not only for sharing this thought-provoking and stunning artwork with us, but for sharing insights with us this evening. So thank you, Marlise, Lucy, SungEun, and Samantha. Really appreciate this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to everyone watching live, and everyone who's gonna watch this later. So please come on down and check out this exhibition, and we will be back next month with another fantastic group of artists to talk about their artwork. Take care.